it is funny to be back in here on this stage playing, well, not playing, I guess, talking about playing, but this place was like the first real deal for us growing up to play a venue. You know, we were all too young to play bars or anything, and churches was kind of generally the thing, but so many times these churches' aesthetics were very nice and set up, and this place was a little more warehousey, and you know, we could just be a bunch of stupid kids here and play awesome music, and met a lot of the people that still, you know, rule the Annapolis scene came out of this place too, which is kind of cool. But you know, my first band experiences were here, so it's kind of cool to be here talking about it. Yeah, it was awesome. This place is still awesome. When I'm talking in this room though, I can't imagine what it sounds like to have bands play, because it's just endless bouncing sound, and it must have been really annoying for anyone who wasn't 15 and loving it. But we were loving it. It was cool. So originally I'm from PG County. Bowie is where I grew up most of my life, and I guess what connects me from there to here is finding this old guitar in my parents' basement that no one ever talked about, no one ever really used or played, and it was intriguing to me. I was like, why has no one brought this up? The kind of thing that you don't think about until you're bored one day, like I was, and I picked it up and I was like, I don't know anything about what this thing is. I found this book, this terrible book on how to learn guitar, and it made no sense. So I asked my parents if I could take lessons, and long story short, got into being in a band and writing songs, and here I am. I think it wouldn't be totally inaccurate to say we're like a micro-Nashville. Like, as far as, if we're talking about Annapolis, you can walk down the street, the main streets of Annapolis, and in the windows of most of the restaurants there's live music, and a lot of times it's free to see, and most of the time the people are excellent, and a lot of varying kinds of talent and stuff, and but it's definitely kind of a hidden gem, I think, as far as the music scene in Annapolis. People see Annapolis as this historic nautical town, which it is, and it's really cool to see that, but so I would describe it, I guess, as that, like a mini-Nashville kind of vibe. Perfect gig for me, I think it doesn't really have to do with so much the turnout or the lights or the venue. I think perfect gig for me would be to have everything that was in my recordings on my record played, every instrument, every nuance, having 7 or 8 people up on stage with strings, and I didn't go crazy on my record with that kind of thing, but there are parts that I very intentionally put in there for effect and for the fullness of a song, and I hear them when I play them solo. The thing that I don't think a lot of people think about is these acoustic songwriters, a lot of times in their head when they're playing, there's so much more happening, and it's kind of cool to be on this side of it and hear those things. And if I had a perfect gig, it would be completely performing the album verbatim, and nailing it all. And it's tricky because recording isn't like it was back in the day where everyone's in the room doing it. You have these, in production, you have so many levels of how far do I want to step from the real performance for the effect or fullness. You do double guitars, but all of a sudden you're doubling a guitar, and then you're like, wait, what if I do a harmonic on this side and not on that side? Little things like that, and all of a sudden you want to translate it to a real performance, and you have to choose which things you give and take. But there have been many shows I've seen by artists that have made albums that I love that do it, and it's awesome, and it's super inspiring because you kind of realize that it is doable, it's not impossible. And so my perfect gig would be doing that. People involved, I would like to have the people on my record do it. They keep it as genuine as it is. So Davis Rowan and Evan Chapman were both the drummers on the record, who are both excellent and doing wonderful things now. And Ginger Wolf was the slide guitarist on that. I had a little bit of Eric Courtney, who's in the deaf scene now. He played some bass, and then Aaron Wold was my producer of the record and engineer, and did so much work on that thing, non-instrumentally. I think he might have played a piano part, but he plays guitar and sings and has his own band. So I think I'd have him be in it, in the band, because he knows that record almost more than I do. Probably, definitely more than I do. And then I had Abby Becker and Deirdre McAllister on vocals and violin, swapped, not respectively. But so that would be the general crew, and Max Kuzmayak was the horn player. So, and he's a great pianist too. So, and then the banjo player was Jason Rowe, and he killed it. He did a great job doing just picking up on the songs that we asked him to do weird stuff and nailing it. Yeah, Davis Rowan and I, we met in high school, and he was in a band that played at Woods, which was Champions by Default, and I was in Common Addiction. We were both in punk bands, 3-piece punk bands at the time, and we met up at Spalding in guitar class and decided, after talking and stuff, that let's just jam and play some music together. We had common philosophies on music and all that, so we got together and it just fit. We were like, yes, let's do this. So we found Brian Zelox, who came and jammed with us the first time, and then Tyler Sommerfeld, who played guitar and lived near me, and kind of recruited ourselves together, and thus the Battle of the Bands. So we started the band Think, and our first real gig was at Maryland Hall's Battle of the Bands, which was a big Battle of the Bands, like multi-high school involvement and stuff. So we were like, okay, if we're gonna do this, let's really do it and take a fresh stab at being in a band. And so we pretty much like scripted the whole practice for this, specifically for this show. And we verbatim like had everything laid out and practiced it. And anytime we got to a part where we were like, what are we doing right there? Like we would stop and we'd fix it and we'd figure it out and polish the thing. And it was a great habit to build right off the bat for that band, because it was the defining difference between our past bands, I think, and Think was everyone would tell us we have a very polished sound, and to this day I still get that comment from people, because it was a very eye-opening thing to, I think I often describe like great performances by 2%. Like you can do like a 98% good job at something, but if you do that 100%, that's when people go home and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe what I just saw. And that, I think, is part of that, and I'm not saying that I ever am at the 100%, but it's a good starting point. So we won the Battle of the Bands and played in front of like almost 1,000 people, and that was really cool and really motivating for us, and we got some exposure and got to do this like anti-smoking commercial, and that was on like all local big networks, so like Cartoon Network and MTV and stuff, so that felt cool.
Take one drag, it'll drag you down. You'd be better off if it was never around. So keep your lips off the cigarette before you go and do something that you're gonna regret. Call for your free quit kit, 410-222-7979.
As far as what I get out of music, it's definitely fulfillment of my life. Like when I think about it, which isn't often, but sometimes I think about if I didn't have music in my life, what would I be doing? And I'd probably be cooking, because I love doing that too, and I did that for a long time as a job, and or graphic design or something. But when I do those things, the other things, they're fun, but when I'm playing music or teaching music or recording it or whatever, it's like that feeling that I found it, so music gives me that. But the word music is such a vague word too, as far as what it means in my life now too, because there's so many different edges of it. I guess I can kind of touch on that. I mean, it started just playing guitar and playing in a band and writing songs and learning how to solo, and that alone was completely engulfing my mind and my soul, and I loved it, and I still love it. But as I got older, I got into recording a little bit and finding different ways to do that, and the processes that go into it, and promoting, and having a crowd and having friends that like your songs, and then kind of got into can I do this as a job, and making money with it, and finding a balance between making it your job and still keeping it as your passion. And that can be difficult, but if you always take like 10 seconds to think about anything you do before you do it, I think that's at least kind of how I did it, and I like what I do. So music for me as a profession is fulfilling both financially and and for myself, I guess. But then I also teach, and I got into that a couple of years ago, and I did it just kind of reluctantly because I was working at Crate and Barrel, and I had a bunch of moms working with me, and they all had, some of them had kids, and they were like, wow, like, they would hear me play. They'd go out, with the work crew or whatever, and they'd be like, wow, you should teach my son. Would you be interested? Do you teach? And I'm like, no, I don't really teach. I don't know much theory. And eventually I kind of reluctantly said yes to two of them, and I got nervous about it, and I started like studying the basic stuff again, like the major scale and what makes a major chord, and I got kind of consumed with it, and I got obsessed with it, and I was like, oh, I love this. I love theory. Like, it's the answers of all these things I've been doing, and all of a sudden knowing why it works. And anyways, now I love teaching. I'm not scared of it, and it makes sense to me. And when you get that moment that I used to have as a student, when I'm sitting in front of this guy who can play so much cool stuff that I want to do, and he explains something, and he does it, and I'm just like grinning, and I can't help but like nerd out and be like, I love this, I can't believe that you just did that. And then you get to give that to someone as a teacher. It's unexpectedly amazing, like to see the light bulbs go off in someone's head and be like, that's what that is. So that is very fulfilling, and I think especially as far as like what I have to offer, because playing music is fun. I do it for myself a lot, and people, get something out of it. But to teach is that, and just to think that I have friends and adults and kids, that take lessons, and they pay their own money to get a thing that improves themselves. It's not a product, which is kind of hard to do for a lot of people. To find value that they take out of their own pocket and put into themselves like that, but that's really awesome to see people who try and they get better, and then all of a sudden this kid who couldn't play a G chord, or this adult, this 50-year-old guy who couldn't play a chord, is writing a song and explaining why he's using a minor 7 right there, and it's awesome. I think about that a lot as far as when I was playing in woods and taking lessons and starting to learn, like, what is a 7th chord or whatever, and then I'd use it in a song, and I'd play it here, and then I'd see someone else do it, and I'm like, I want to do, like, he's doing that too, and it's such a good little competition. But I had so much support from friends and family and everybody at that time, and it's really like an endlessly give back feeling that I constantly would like to do, and it's nice. It's just a nice feeling. The scene is a big word too, as far as there are the venues, there's musicians, there's the community that supports it, like the people, the audience, I guess. And so I guess if I had to say where I'd like to see it go, I'd love to see Annapolis kind of organize something, I guess, together to really put ourselves on the map. I think they deserve credit as like nationally, I guess. Like people talk about these little towns like Seattle, like Seattle's a big city, but still these places are known. You say Nashville, you say Seattle, you say Chicago, and everyone has this image of, this idea of generally what comes from there. Oh, yeah, you're gonna see some good music if you go to wherever. Yeah, exactly. New Orleans is a great example, yeah, because it's not some big, tall monster city, but I mean, kind of. But so I'd love to see that happen to the scene. I think we all of the musicians in Annapolis are hard-working people, and I really just think I'd love to see Annapolis get put on the map. And one other person that I know has that same passion is the owner of 49 West, Brian Callahan, and he's such an inspiring dude for the city of Annapolis's music. And I always think, and this is where I'm going to kind of segue, like if you were to visit Annapolis and see something, I would say don't go to the big lights. Go to the little shops, because a lot of times people like Brian or Wes of 1747, they're the heartbeats of this circuit that we have, and 49 West is just a local network of people that will be in and out. If you go there, you'll see the real deal, and you'll see the people living and breathing this art, music, and coffee and food, drink scene, whatever it is, anywhere from jazz to punk. You know, I mean, they all go through there and bring great acts through. You know, these, and then the other place I guess I'm thankful for is Ram's Head on Stage, which is right there too, and they are probably the most impacting as far as putting us nationally on the map, strictly because they can bring in big names. But I think 49 West, if you had to stop one place, I'd do that. To be remembered, I really would like to just be remembered by almost more of my songs than my name. Like, I love people to be like, who was that song? You know, I love that song. That to me is like the best feeling. You know, I went and saw, and this is a perfect example. I can't remember his name right now, but the guy who wrote "Sunshine Go." Oh. Yeah, John Edwards. I drove a friend one time up to Vermont. I drove Emily Elbert, who's doing great things now too, to open up for him. And I didn't think anything of it. And he plays this song, and at the end he's like, "Yeah, I wrote that back in whatever year." And I was like, "Hold on, what?" And that feeling, I walked up to him and I was like, I was honest. I was like, I didn't know you were you, but I love that song. And he was super happy to hear that kind of honesty, I think, and it definitely impacted me, because I was like, that's badass. Like that, and to be a good dude, like a good guy, you know, in the music scene, and I think I'm doing that, you know, with the open mics. I love helping people get into it and stuff. So I'd love to, yeah, mainly the songs. So I'm gonna play, I guess, a couple of my songs on this guitar, which is a Joey Lambert original, a friend of mine and great musician, and a luthier for Annapolis, and built this literally from wood that he found in a shop, and did it piece by piece, and does it again and again, which blows my mind that I'm playing something that my friend built out of wood and metal and glue, and it's beautiful. He's an artist too, and does all kinds of woodwork, and I'm thankful that he's letting me use it today. This one's called "Go to Bus." Till the speaker box sings, to fit it in and incorporate it among other things. But who would have told me, 'cause who would have known the melody you sing for me right after you're gone is good for the soul, good for the good of us. I believe in God and energy and in love. She's got me under a spell, I don't know what to call it now. But I've got you here with me, happy as two kids could be. Sacred serendipity, la da 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 da.
Take her and run this way. Take her in love this way. With patience in every day. Take her and run this way. Take her and run this way. Silent and young again, a smile and the pass of a card. Begin to understand that life is more than beating the heart. But who would have told me? 'Cause who would have known? The melody you sing for me right after you're gone is good for the soul, good for the good of us. Got me under a spell, I don't know what to call it now. But I've got you here with me, happy as two kids could be. Sacred serendipity, la da.